Buckle up, nerds. It's time for the Energy Nerd Show. I'm Bruce.
And I'm Jeannie.
Here we go. The Energy Nerd Show is like a battery. We do a lot of work off peak, loading it up with information, and then on peak, boom, out onto the internet, just like a battery. Well, sort of like a battery.
Cool. Do you know who our guest is today?
Yeah, it's Caitlin.
Caitlin Odom is a research associate at SYNAPSE'S. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, Bruce. Hi, Jeannie.
So thanks for sending us this map. It looks really interesting. Did you work on putting it together?
Yeah, so we were commissioned by Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources to do a solar siting study. We used GIS to find the best places to site solar within the state. And this map is particularly interesting because it comments on the total technical potential we found for solar and how that relates to the total energy sales for each municipality in the state.
So what were the factors and where are the best places?
We looked at 6 different categories. So that includes rooftop, ground mounted, which included landfills, brownfields, gravel pits, and undeveloped C&I, and also parking lot solar. So as you can imagine, a lot of the solar potential is in more rural areas where there are gravel pits and landfills that are quite large that you can site solar on. But there isn't necessarily a ton of electricity demand or electricity sales in those areas. So sort of the share you can see here is where there is a lot of sales, but low provisions of solar based on our study. And the alternative, right, at the high end, the darker areas have a lot of solar potential, but lower electricity demand or sales. And one would be perfect, right? So we're right hitting the exact one-to-one where you have that great amount of potential, but also a similar amount of demand.
So what's the most interesting thing you found about these results? A second question while you're mulling. What work has to be done if you're going to optimize or improve the solar penetration in Rhode Island?
You know, for distributed resources like solar, it's important to have other resources integrated in, such as storage, to allow for them to be located in different areas and still be useful for electricity demand in the state.
What work would be logical to do next to follow up on this analysis?
Did it lead to any more questions? Sometimes you do an analysis and then it leaves you kind of questioning.
In a lot of ways, the study was hugely clarifying for developers and other, energy agencies within Rhode Island as to where we can avoid greenfield solar siting. And it also helped clarify what the incremental cost of siting on things like brownfields, gravel pits, and landfills can be. A lot of people don't know this, but when you site something like a huge solar array on a landfill, you don't get to bury the poles underground. You have to use large cement blocks and site them on top at the right angle. And this is all detailed in the report, but that's an additional cost to the developer. And this will help inform, municipalities and the state developing incentives for solar moving forward on how they should target their incentives to incentivize solar to not be sited on greenfields.
For the sites you looked at, did you estimate, you must have estimated to do this work, the size of an installation that could go on any particular site?
The way we did this analysis is we took the available area from our GIS analysis and then multiplied that by some capacity density factor from NREL. So that's sort of how we estimated the total potential for each category. In terms of specific projects, we didn't look at one single site and how much solar you could site at that one single site, because it was much more a commentary on municipality solar potential as well as statewide solar potential. But there are existing landfill and gravel pit projects within the state, and those can be up to 1 or more megawatts. And as you mentioned, there's obviously potential on rooftops, which is much smaller. and carports, which is also smaller, but still an interesting thing to dive into.
Has anyone, to your knowledge, done these kind of maps of other states?
NREL conducted a really huge nationwide study doing something similar to this, but they looked mostly at urban areas and sort of extrapolated on potential from there. We've also done work for DC, People's Council in DC, and there are some maps based on wards there that show potential. But people really like the maps by municipality. In the actual GIS analysis, this isn't how we're looking at the projects and the potential. We're looking, at satellite data, overlaying some geospatial shape files to see where these landfills are, where the gravel pits are, and then we export that to extrapolate numbers, and then we can create these maps post-processing.
And then the idea is that municipalities can look and see what their potential is, or where to focus on developing new projects.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is supposed to help inform municipalities as they move forward on, what is the solar potential for each category and how they should target those based on what's relevant for each of them.
So do you have maps on the potential by each category that you're not sharing with us on the show today?
Yes. There are so many maps. They're all in the report and really, really fun to look at, really helpful and informative. Each municipality can look at these and say, hey, I have many megawatts for residential, which would be in more urban areas, but I have no megawatt potential for landfill because we don't have any landfills. And that can just really inform how they decide to treat solar moving forward. We also have a webinar recorded that we did, which you should listen to, but also it details our methodology and our results and caveats, and it's really useful to listen to if you don't want to read the whole report.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. This is Energy Nerd Show and Tell.
It's the show that we want to watch, so we're thinking maybe some of you energy nerds want to watch it too. If you do, then tell your friends and subscribe right around here. Click there,
And check
or there, or over here.
Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and where
Yeah,
else?
and the Energy Nerd website at energynerdshow.com. You can always go there. And if you want to be a guest, you can volunteer to be a guest. We love to have guests. In fact, that's kind of what the show is all about.
Absolutely.